Listeners, tonight's episode of The Snow Queen is a special one. It's about siblings. I invited my own sister, Caitlin, to be a guest host, and we were joined by another pair of siblings, April and Lara. Since we recorded this episode, I'm very sad to say that April and Lara lost their brother very unexpectedly. All of us who worked on tonight's episode would like to dedicate it to his memory. Thank you. Welcome to Tonight's Tale, a fairy tale theater podcast. We are going through every episode of Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater in alphabetical order. I'm your host, Emily, from Atlanta, Georgia, joined again by my co-host, Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric from New York.
And this month, we are joined by three special guests. First of all is someone I know very well, my sister.
Hi, I'm Caitlin from Indianapolis, Indiana.
And we've got two other sisters.
Hi, I'm Lara. And I'm April. And we're from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Eric will have his hands full on this episode because we've got two sets of sisters here to talk about tonight's episode, The Snow Queen.
Well, I'm definitely the odd man out. So The Snow Queen, Season 4, Episode 2. It aired on March 11th, 1985. It was actually taped November 14th, 1983 to November 18th, 1983. So like 2 years before.
That's interesting.
Yeah, a year and a half before. Yeah, very interesting. But it does kind of make sense to me. There was probably a lot of effects and things they had to do in post. So it was directed by Peter Medic. It was the teleplay was written by Mary Edith Burrell.
She also wrote The Dancing Princesses, and we'll see her on screen in Thumbelina.
Yes, and then we also had Rob Muir, who was the composer, and Chet Himes, who was the music engineer.
I did notice the music in this episode, more so than I have in some of our more recent episodes. We'll talk about that in a minute.
But he's someone that's been around. He's done a lot of things for Shelley over the years. He did Tall Tales and Legends as well, and he also did Nightmare Classics.
Oh, that's the first thing I noticed when I did my rewatch as well. I noticed that fun flurrying snow music as it started out. So I'm so glad that you shared all of that with us, Eric. That's awesome.
Yeah, it stands out in this episode. It goes so well with the episode.
What is the very first thing that springs to your mind when you think of this episode? Caitlin, I'll start with you.
So the first thing I keep thinking of is what I thought of as a child of there's something above me, like spying on me. I always had that fear as a child when I watched The Snow Queen, that there was like a 17th century goblin staring at me.
You've never told me this ever.
Like I'd tell my sister my deepest fear. That's just stupid.
Well, that's true. I would probably cackle like the goblin and attack you in the middle of the night. Fair. Lara, what's the first thing that springs to your minds when you think of this?
Okay, so I have a very short little story. This was probably in like 1998, 99, and they used to play the fairy tale theater episodes on PBS, and it would be every Sunday night. And I remember specifically, it was a year when Christmas was on a Sunday. And you know how you have all the hype of Christmas and the excitement, and then like all the, Santa comes and you have all the treats and the presents and then you go to your family and everything. And then it gets to the night of Christmas Day. You've had your Christmas dinner and then you come home and it's just kind of a bummer. And I remember it being Christmas night and we came home. And,
so specific. I love it.
No, I know. And Christmas night, we came home and I turned on the TV and put it on PBS. And I was like, oh, there probably won't be a PBS. There probably won't be a fairy tale theater tonight because it's Christmas. But lo and behold, I turn on the TV to PBS, and what magical episode is on that is perfect for the entry into winter after the excitement of Christmas, but the Snow Queen. And I absolutely loved it because it had all the snow. It still had the winter like beauty and kind of solidarity of winter, but in a beautiful way, and the lovely story. And it's just, and ever since then, I don't even know how old April was. She might have even been like 3, 4. Ever since then, we have like a tradition of, okay, all the excitement, all of like the adrenaline, everything is done with Christmas. What do we do on Christmas night? It's a tradition. We watch the Snow Queen, not together even.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the calm storm. It's just like the perfect like tone because it's not really Christmassy, but it's wintry. And so that's just become a tradition of ours. And so this episode really holds a special place in our heart.
We love it because it's a tradition for our holiday, the end of our holiday season.
Such a cool
That
story.
is so sweet.
I love that so much. And yeah, I was telling Emily, I love watching this in the winter time.
I'm going to start doing that now. That's a great idea. After the presents are open and we've eaten the dinner, and what a beautiful story. Thank you, ladies.
And you're kind of sad that you can't watch the Christmas movies anymore because there were so many options. But now you've got the Snow Queen.
You've got the Snow Queen.
Yeah.
It will always be there for you. So that's why we're just really honored to be able to be a part of this episode because it really is really special for us.
We love it.
Wow.
Well, I've got a blizzard going on right now outside, so I may turn it on after this.
Bobby Porter just stood out so much as the Goblin. I loved the Goblin thing. Like, it was just like my favorite thing. I was like quoting it to Emily earlier today. Like, love it so much. Love him in this. And the whole Goblin thing is so cool. The idea of like this Goblin floating around in outer space. Like, I just love that idea. Aside from that, I mean, the beautiful Lee Remick, gorgeous. I think that Melissa Gilbert said when she was asked about this, that she said she was just so awestruck when she saw Lee Remick come out for the first time in her full regalia as the Snow Queen, with the fur, with the glittery makeup, with all the things. She said she was so, and everyone was just so in awe when she first stepped on the set, as the Snow Queen, because she's like a force. It's amazing. She's beautiful. She commands the screen whenever she's on it. And it's great. I love this episode so much. So
I totally agree with you. Ethereal. That's a great word, Kate.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great word. I just put Lee Remick, period. In my opinion, she's one of the most beautiful actresses of all time. But also, I mean, she was such a gifted actress. Anatomy of a Murder. I remember her from The Omen because
The Omen.
Yeah. Caitlin and I were raised by our mother, who's a horror film nut. So we always knew The Omen. But she was such a great actress. She died so young. So I was so happy to see her in this. And she does not disappoint. She is the queen. She is the Snow Queen.
One of the things she does so well, you cannot tell if she is good or evil. Like there's this constant, she has like sort of she has that mysterious quality. And even with her dialogue and everything, you can't tell, like, is she trying to help or is she trying to hinder? And it's kind of that way through the whole thing until the end, but I just love the way her acting, like, it's just so, this is my favorite version of movies of the Snow Queen partially because of that factor.
Yeah, and a lot of other versions, it's more clear that she is the villain or she is an evil character. But in this one, it's so ambiguous. And that's what I love about this version of it.
She's so mysterious. That's very well said. The other thing I wrote down about her performance, she moves like a dancer. She was a dancer. She started out in musical theater. So I could see it in some of her movements. She just... I can't quite explain it, but when she's walking, she's more gliding. She spins around. Her movements are all thought out and calculated. And I just loved the performance here.
The casting in this whole episode is just brilliant across the board. Everyone in this episode is so perfectly cast. And I love every single one of them.
I agree.
I agree too. Okay. How familiar is everybody with the original source material? I'll go first because I've got the shortest answer. I know Our dad, Kate's and my dad, started to read The Snow Queen to us when we were little. And I remember very clearly getting bored and going to watch the fairy tale theater episode because that story was so long and I didn't understand why it was so long. And as far as I was concerned, the movie was shorter. So I don't think to this day I've ever finished reading that story. Shame on me. I know.
I actually did get through it once, and I was, I think, too young for it because I was reading it and I was just so lost as to this robber girl. Where did she come from? Why is she here? I'm still not clear on all the things Gerda did. It's a bit of a confusion to me.
So the Hanson sisters, we were a bust on
We
this.
tried. We tried.
We tried. Eric?
So I actually did this as one of my book reports when I was young, like maybe like third or fourth grade, something like that. And yeah, so I did read the original tale, but then I also like rewatched the episode, and it is crazy how different it is. The tone is different. The characterization of the Snow Queen is very different. And I did read it. It's very long. It's like a novella pretty much, but I did read it, and I do remember liking it. There is an animated one from, I think, the 90s that is very accurate to the original text. It was like an animated, like almost stop motion kind of situation that they did.
I know of that, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, where they kind of would just show illustrations. It wasn't like fully animated, like some of it was, but it was kind of like that.
Okay, April, Lara?
Yeah, I was really excited to read this one because this always has been one of my favorite fairy tales, one of my favorite fairy tale theater episodes, one of my favorite stories. I just really love the themes in it about like love conquering all and about good versus evil and about redemption and all of that. So I was really excited to read it. So I read all 7 parts of it. It's separated into 7 parts. It's quite long and gets a bit long-winded at times. There are a lot of similarities to the fairy tale theater version, but I really was so impressed with how Shelley or whoever wrote the script for this really just took the very best gems of this story and created the short version that we know and love, because
they cut out a lot, right? I mean, in the original, they go to like a prince or a princess.
Yeah. So in the original, she meets a lot more characters. She talks to the flowers. She meets a lot of animal friends that help her. And she meets other people as well as the Lady of Summer and the robber girl. And actually, there's a version that I really love. It was made by Hallmark back in 2002, right? Movie version. Yeah. With Bridget Fonda as the Snow Queen. And it was like sort of made to be a series. So it's over 3 hours long. It's really long. So it's quite an investment, but I think it's well done. And it's interesting how in that version, they sort of represented the people that she meets as the different seasons. She does meet a lot more characters in the original version.
A few things that I got from the original text is, I believe in the original, it's not a goblin who breaks this mirror, but it's the devil. The devil has this mirror, and in this mirror, if you look into the mirror, you will see the worst of, so if you look in it yourself, you will see the worst of yourself. If you show it to somebody else, they will see the worst in whatever they're seeing in the mirror. And they took it, the devil took it up to the angels, and it shattered, I guess, up there where the angels were, and fell down. So that's a different thing. And I was also wondering, like, in the book, what is the actual age of Kai and Gerda? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't ever actually say how old they were, but it's kind of agreed upon or implied that in the book, they are a bit younger. But I do like how they were played as teenagers in the fairy tale theater version, and all the other movie versions I've seen. It's been more of like a teenage, but it's still like almost like a brotherly sisterly love, even though they're just friends. They're not brother and sister. It's like it's a deep bond of friendship. And it doesn't, in the fairy tale theater version, I like that it isn't a romantic love. It's a very much just a deep friendship love that they have for each other, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed from the text was a lot of the dialogue is actually taken from the original text. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
I love when they include original text dialogue, kind of like what they did with Hansel and Gretel. I think that shows that they tried to keep it as close to the original text as possible. And there's a few episodes that do that. Those are the ones that really stand out for me, or